Alright guys, it's just me, you, and whoever else is watching this. We're gonna have a little bit of intimate time. I'm just kidding. Alright, we're gonna be doing a story time here, guys. And what is this story about? It's my life. Pretty much explaining why I have to carry these batteries around every single day. If you guys are new to the channel, I'll briefly explain. I have what you call an LVAD. I have heart failure, so therefore I rely off of a heart pump to keep my heart pumping. So it looks like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over exactly how I got this device and why I got it. Well, it all started off when my mother and my father met in 1970 something. In 1989, they decided to have me. So we fast forward a little bit, and then out here I come, and oh, sorry, too much. Never mind. All right, let's fast forward a little bit. I was a normal kid, guys. I'm gonna be straightforward to you guys. I was a normal kid. I was into sports. I had friends. I was just a real personable person. I mean, I am now, but either way, I was very active. Did a lot of teenage things, if you would. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke, and I think anybody that you meet and talk to can attest to that. I don't smoke and I don't drink. In high school, I played football. Weightlifting was my big thing. I was pretty good at football, by the way. I was at an elite level. Okay, I'm just joking. I was average. I wasn't him. That's The Rock. But people say I look like him. Either way, back to it. So I ended up graduating and just wanted to go to school to get a degree. And I was working just like anybody else. I picked up this passion for bodybuilding and like physical fitness. I wanted to be a personal trainer for a little bit. Thought I was pretty excited about that. And then ultimately I found out if I wanted to be a bodybuilder, I had to learn how to diet. And I have a very terrible discipline when it comes to dieting. So I just said, no, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. I'll stick to powerlifting. So I ended up doing powerlifting and wanted to get towards it, move towards it, and I started getting bigger. I wanted to get strong. But eventually I got sick. That's where everything hit the fan. While I was going for my bachelor's degree, I ended up getting this flu or this cold. It was really rough. I tell people all the time it was like a flu or cold. I believe it was a flu, but ultimately the symptoms that came with it, I mean, you guys can kind of guess. I was vomiting. I had fever pretty much. I felt terrible. A lot of coughing, nasal congestion. It just felt like your everyday flu. 2 weeks later, that thing left my body and I was ready to go. So I thought. Felt pretty good. I got back in the gym and doing pretty good. Next thing you know, I'm having this cough. This cough would not go away. I mean, every time I walked, I coughed. If I was talking to somebody after a little while, I started to cough. And it was getting so annoying. Then other things started to pop up, but I didn't think they were related. I thought they were just, you know, I just happened to have a cough still. Growing up, I did have bronchitis, you know, from here and there, so it wasn't nothing new to me. Me and my wife and my brother, at the time it was my girlfriend, but she's my wife now, we decided to go visit my sister in Texas. So we went up there to go visit her, and while we're up there, I just had a really tough time just doing normal things. Walking around was kind of rough, talking to people was kind of rough, I would just cough a lot. I was just very big, and I didn't notice any symptoms. I just thought because I was lifting so much weight, I thought that I was getting bigger. I mean, my numbers were through the roof. It was so great. One thing my wife noticed was that I was snoring a lot. It sounded like I wasn't breathing when I was sleeping. So I would be sleeping, all of a sudden you hear, and then I would jump up because I wasn't breathing. She said it sounded like there was like water all over my chest. I really didn't understand that stuff. I'm just like, all right, whatever. At the end of the trip, everyone said you need to go to the doctor when you get back. So that's what we did. Fast forward, go to the doctor. The doctor looks at me, gets some, you know, some blood work in and do some x-rays. And we find out that I have pneumonia. In my head, I'm thinking, all right, we're good. It's pneumonia. I know pneumonia sucks. It's a serious thing, but it can be treated. My doctor says, hold on, before we get going, I want to double check one thing. I want to make sure that it's nothing more serious. So what we end up doing is she sends me to a cardiologist, and the cardiologist looks at my numbers and looks at my x-rays again, and then that's when they diagnose me with cardiomyopathy, which is pretty much heart failure. So at this point, I'm 24 years old, and I just got punched in the face being told that I've got heart failure. I really couldn't even accept it. I didn't even know what to think, because it's just like, I don't feel like I have heart failure. I don't know what heart failure feels like. So it's very hard to kind of accept that. Well, we end up going home, and now I'm just living off of medication for a little while. And this doctor was absolutely like, he wasn't the best, to say the least. Keep in mind, at that time, I was probably making $300 a week. So my doctor visits consisted of going to the doctor, spending $50 every week, and coming home. $50 every week, come home. It was terrible, okay? $50 is a lot of money for somebody who's making $300 a week. So every week, a quarter of my check is going home, you know? So it sucked. And he kept on telling me was, if you get sick, don't go to the ER. Like, don't go to the ER. Whatever you do, don't go to the ER. They're gonna make you worse. So I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. A couple weeks go on, I'm about a month, I'm just getting worse. I'm not getting any better, guys. I'm having a hard time sleeping. I have to lay on my back. I mean, if I lay on my back, I start coughing. If I sit up, that's how I had to sleep. I was pretty much sitting up like this, sleeping my final nights. I end up just giving in, and I said, you know what? I'm going to the doctor. I don't care anymore. I'm going to the ER. So after almost a couple weeks of going back and forth to the doctor, he tells me, I'm gonna send you to a specialist. You're not getting any better. So I'm like, I don't know what you are. You already are a cardiologist. A cardiologist is a specialist, but whatever. He ends up sending me to Shands. Shands is where I'm at currently now, also known as UF Health. So in that meantime, they were gonna send me to UF Health on a Wednesday. Well, we're talking a whole week from that day. So it was Wednesday to Wednesday. Well, he tells me, I'm gonna send you to UF Health next week. That's your appointment. I said, all right, no problem. So I had to wait a whole week with the symptoms. Well, I couldn't wait no more. My body was just flooded. So what I ended up doing is I go to the ER. Against his wishes, I went to the ER. The ER lets me in, and lo and behold, just happens to be, I have a doctor that is from Shands. He was there. He was in charge of the unit that day from UF Health. And he tells me, he says, look, why didn't you come in here before? Like, you should have been here 2 weeks ago. And I told him, I said, my doctor told me not to go to the ER. They're gonna make you worse. He says, well, that's a bad idea. You're flooded from the inside out. So ultimately, we kept me in there for about a whole week. I actually stayed in that hospital from Friday all the way till the following Tuesday. And then they let me out one day prior to my doctor's appointment in Gainesville. So I ended up going to Gainesville and getting checked out. Right when I walk in there, they obviously go through the full, treatment. They check everything that's going on. My doctor tells me, who is my doctor now, my cardiologist tells me, if I let you go home now, I'm not doing my job. So what he ends up doing is he ends up keeping me there for a full month. A month? That was a long month. Let me tell you right now, I lost so much weight. I lost around 40 pounds. So we ended up going there. I'm going to fast forward through that, just a full month's stay of dieting and everything and getting all my numbers back to normal so I can be a normal person. I end up going home and I end up graduating college. I end up getting married. Good things, proposed to my wife, in which we ended up getting married. We ended up buying a house. You can't complain. Everything was going good. And I just lived off of medication. Well, I get cleared to start lifting again. In that meantime, I wasn't allowed to lift weights. So I get cleared to lift weights again, and I'm pretty excited. So I start competing and start training to compete. I know I'm not going to be no elite lifter, but, I can at least strive to reach that goal, right? Well, I trained for my little first local meet, if you would, and I said, I'm gonna lift some weights, So I end up doing that, and I go through the whole powerlifting, regimen, and I take a week break after the meet. I had a good time, did well, and then afterwards, next thing you know, my symptoms came back. The symptoms that I was well aware of, which was in the beginning with nausea, fatigue, coughing, just throwing up all the time. It was just all there. So I knew right off the bat. So I called up my doctor. I said, look, this is what's going on. This is what I have. This is, I'm feeling these symptoms again. So he calls me and he says, we're gonna bring you in. We're gonna give you an evaluation. So this evaluation is called a heart eval. So what that means is they're gonna see if I qualify for an LVAD, which is the device I have now. So they're gonna go ahead, they'll bring me in, they'll put me through a whole week of testing to see if I qualify for this, if my body can handle this new device. I don't need to take it. I don't have to accept it. I can say no to it. It's not a problem at all. So they gave me the option. So what I went in and I did all the testing, and lo and behold, they tell me, look, you qualify for one. There was some shutdown. I guess like my heart wasn't doing too well while I was in the hospital. So what they ended up doing was putting me on a PICC line and giving me a medication called milrinone. Pretty much like rocket fuel for the heart. I went home with this PICC line. I was rocking the fanny pack, and it was brutal. And basically that PICC line goes into my arm. So I have the scar right there. Let me see if you guys can see it, but either way, it's there. And that PICC line was in my arm for about a couple months. A couple months later, I ended up getting sick really bad. This is right before Hurricane Maria. Hurricane Maria is like hitting up Florida straight through the middle, and it's getting rough. So there's a panic going around for people to get gas. Me and my wife are thinking, like, if the power goes out and we don't have gas, you know, what's gonna happen? Next thing you know, in the meantime, I start throwing up like viciously. Guys, I'm laying in bed, I get up, I go to the sink, go to the toilet, throw up, and then back and forth, like all the way through. I just kept on throwing up everywhere I went. My wife tells me, like, look, this is getting really out of hand. I really recommend you go to the doctor, you go to the ER. And I was on the fence. Once we started seeing how bad it was getting with the hurricane coming, I didn't know what to expect. We hop in the car and we drive back to Gainesville. And we get to Gainesville, we walk right in, we sit there, they take us in, obviously, because they see me, they know my numbers and everything. They took me right into the back. We start looking at all my vitals and everything going on. It was weird though, guys, because I didn't have the same symptoms like the limbs, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have what you call edema, where it basically is when you have like liquid in your limbs. I didn't have it. It wasn't serious like that, but apparently my heart was just super weak inside. So everything was just shutting down. I go to the back and they said, look, we're gonna put a groin pump in you. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want a groin pump. It's basically a balloon pump. And I ended up getting this groin pump, which was a nightmare. I got a catheter. Ugh, that was embarrassing. Now I'm in ICU. Again, I feel like crap this whole way through. I'm not as happy as I am now at that moment. I was very down. They had me on the worst diet possible, no liquid, very little liquid, low sugar because I'm diabetic. It was terrible. Finally, I'm seeing some more doctors come in. They come in, they look at me and they said, Mr. Cruz, if you wouldn't have came in when you did, you wouldn't have made it through the weekend. Which was kind of like a shocker to me, because I'm like, what do you mean I wouldn't have made it? I was totally coherent and whatever. But they're saying is the heart was just shutting down. You wouldn't have made it through this hurricane. They told me the only options I had was either stay in bed with this balloon pump, because it's the only thing keeping me going, or get an LVAD. I was already approved for it. So I was like, I was on the fence, you know what I mean? I really didn't want to. Nobody wants to know that you're gonna get electricity, you know, a new device in you. I didn't have a pacemaker, I didn't have a defibrillator or anything like that, nor did I want one. I was offered a pacemaker in the beginning of the process, but I just said no, I didn't want one. Well, we did some prayer on it, me and my wife, my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, we all talked about it, and we decided we're gonna go through with the LVAD. It was a full month of recovery. I was in Shands for about, I wanna say close to 2 months overall. The LVAD, ultimately, it just gave me another life. It is what it did, you know, not to be all sappy and emotional here, but it was a true blessing. It really was. It's a blessing and a curse. I mean, nobody wants this sickness. Nobody wants heart failure. Nobody wants an electric heart. Nobody wants to live off of batteries. Nobody wants that, and I don't want that for anybody else. But the fact that it gave me another chance at life, to be with my wife, to be with my dogs, to be with my family, it's given me way more than I could ever think of. The platform it's given me, I never knew that I could touch lives just by telling my story and living my life. Jumping over hurdles, knocking over barriers, you know, knocking down walls to just reach my goals has inspired other people to do the same thing. And it's been a true blessing. So that's where we're at now. It's been a full 7 years since I was diagnosed with heart failure. That was at 24. I'm 31 now. Gonna be 32 next month. September will be 4 months with this LVAD device, and I haven't had any issues. I'm currently waiting on a heart, so eventually one will become available. Either way, guys, so all of that sappiness to tell you that is my story. I'm so sorry that it took that long. I hate making videos this long and talking like this. They're fun, I like to joke around, but at the same time, this heart failure thing isn't really nothing to joke around about. So it's kind of hard to just be funny in this situation, but you guys make it great. So I want to thank you guys so much. If you like this video, if you like this heart stuff, I'm gonna have a heart section. Like I said, it already is broken down, so you can see all the heart videos. They're at the bottom here. I want to thank you guys so much. If you liked it, comment below, hit a share, like, subscribe. I want to thank you guys so much. I love you guys. I will see you on the next one. Peace.